So we've had a few short strikes this morning. I can tell that the water's cleared up a little bit. We've had a lot of rain recently, and a lot of times when they pool water, the water will clear up or get dirty in certain places. So like I said, I've noticed the water's cleared up a little bit here. We've had a few short strikes. Now, last time we fished here, exactly a week ago, most of the fish pretty much choked this thing early in the morning. The water was a little bit dingier, and they were just choking. We had a few short strikes, but we've already had them too, and this is the prime time. The earlier in the morning with this bite that we're on, with the seawalls and stuff, the early morning is the prime time. And if you're getting short strikes in the prime time, you know, if you're fishing overhanging bushes and stuff like that, the prime time could literally be in the afternoon. There might be a short window of time, or it might be all day. But when you're fishing seawalls and the water's up and the water's going to slowly go down as the day goes on, this is the prime time. And when you're having short strikes like I am here, it's time to change something. For me, most of the time in the morning, if I'm fishing this, I have a pretty bright colored frog here, and I have the popping one. I like to use this when the water's a little bit dingier, a little dirtier, or very early in the morning when it's practically dark outside. And this brighter frog, so I'm going to go ahead and switch. I'm going to keep to the popping frog, I think, at least for now. I also have the regular Spro bronzeye frog rigged up, and I'm going to toss that around too. But I'm going to go ahead and switch colors to this one if you'll get a zoom on this. See, I like the orange there. It mimics the bluegill, but it's got like a green pumpkin rubber skirt and body to it, so it's gonna be a little bit better in this clear water. It's gonna be a little bit more subtle, and I'm hoping they'll choke this thing. So we'll see if we get. You've seen we've already had 2 short strikes from bass, and they haven't even gotten the hooks at all. They've been coming up and getting the rubber legs, which I'm thinking, to me, that means they're getting too good of a look at it. I mean, these fish that are up here, they're up to feed most of the time, and with these conditions, it feels like they should be up and on the prowl this morning. And if I'm getting short strikes like that, something's not right. And for me, first thing I'm going to change in this situation is the color, and I'm also going to toss in that other frog, the regular Spro bronzeye, that has a little bit more subtle action. It's not near as loud. I'm going to toss that around and see if which one produces. So that calls to paying attention. I mean, I actually switched colors on that previous frog, and then actually switched to my other rod that had the original Spro frog. Ended up actually finally catching a fish. And you know, previous we had a lot of blow-ups, and the fish just seemed to be getting the rubber legs on it. They just weren't really getting it. This one absolutely choked it. And I'm thinking I might have to call an audible and go somewhere that has a little bit more color into the water, and it might really pay off for us. But we're going to keep fishing. We're going to go through some of our good stretches and see. I'll show you this frog right quick. Nice little 14.5-inch fish. You can see there's some marks right here. If you'll get a little bit closer in on that, you see that little mark? When you see something like that, that fish hadn't spawned too long ago. He's nice and healthy, but he probably spawned a month ago, and it's July. He probably spawned, and he's just now healing up. He's trying to eat on some of these bluegill that are up here shallow, and that's what you're trying to mimic with the frog. And you'll see this frog that I switched to. The color is important, but really when it comes to me switching, it was all about the presentation. I mean, you see this is the regular Spro frog. It's going to have a little bit quieter action, more subtle, and it's not going to move quite as much water. And in the water that's cleared up here a little bit, I think it's going to be really key for the day. That one bit it right there like he's got some friends. So we're gonna, real green, real green. Look at that fish, nice fish. Once again, audible. We went to the other side of this dock and immediately caught one. And that shows not only changing colors, changing the actual presentation, you know. but also how fish will group up. Even when the water's kind of high like it is, the water's up. These fish are on the prowl this morning. In the morning like this, when the water's up and it's the summer, the morning time is the time for them to feed. Their metabolism is high, they still have to feed. So in the morning, they really put the choke on and go out there and chase all them bluegill and put them down. Nice fish, really heavy. This is a really heavy fish. Probably been feeding on a lot of bluegill and shad back here. I should weigh this fish. This fish for 14 and a half inch fish, this fish probably weighs 2 pounds, and that's good. So now let's get into my frog choices and why. Now there's a lot of different types of hollow body frogs out there on the market, and I have yet to find one that doesn't catch bass. Now one of the absolutes in fishing is that there's not a whole lot of things that are gimmicky, but there are certain lures, certain types and certain brands that do catch more fish, that do land more fish, different things like that. I'm gonna go through a couple brands of hollow body frogs that I've had a lot of really good experience with in the past. You can look in here. I've got my tackle box that's pretty full of hollow bodied frogs. Now with hollow bodied frogs, there's two basic types that you want to keep in mind, and they have their place. And they both catch fish, and they both equally catch fish in similar or same situations. But there are times when I've found that bass like one or the other more. There'll be a situation where you're fishing one type, and they'll swipe at one, and then you fish the other one and they'll swallow it. So that's one of those things that you want to keep in mind when you're out there fishing.